Night Freak is a game by Spring Rabbits that takes on the old 90s horror trope to tell the story of weird conspiracy plot lines. It follows the formula laid down by Puppet Combo, following a retro-style VHS-themed story revolves around the central character. The game opens with a radio news host talking about the discovery of remains of a young boy who has been disfigured entirely and is found inside an animal pit. The host talks about how vile this crime is, and how in these moments it makes you wonder what humans are really capable of to be able to commit such acts. The story follows little Jimmy being told by his parents that they need to go attend a funeral so he will be taken care of by his older brother Jeff. Timmy decides to throw himself a party in his treehouse where he will play games on his own. So he heads to his father's room to use his PC to download games, but he needs a CD to be able to play it. Jimmy asks his brother if he has a CD, but he says if Jimmy helps him set up for a party, then he'll give him one of his CDs. Jimmy then finds the party items and brings them to Jeff, but before doing that, he picks up the phone, and it is his dad asking for his mom to come on the phone, which is odd considering they both left to attend a funeral. But Jimmy does not understand that he gave away crucial information to some impersonators, who now know that he is home alone. Jeff hands him the CD, and he makes his way to the computer where he burns the games onto the disc. Jimmy then heads outside where he finds a strange box containing a bear, which Jimmy assumes is a gift from his mother. He takes it and makes his way to the treehouse. Inside, he boots up the CD to play the games. The first game is called Trap Falls, where a boy follows a note telling him to go find candy while trying to avoid traps. The second game is Roller Rad here. A boy finds a box of roller skates and skates toward a white van before the game crashes. Suddenly, Jimmy notices the bear emitting flashes from his eyes, and he finds a camera in it, which he then uses with the laptop to see what the images are, but the process is slow, so he plays another game in the meanwhile. The game is Andy Bear, written in reverse, and is basically a silent film showing the story of a boy finding a bear in the woods, but the bear has a secret he warns the child after his parents leave, but he drags the boy and he screams. These video games are a reference to the events going on in the game, with the first game telling the story of the missing campers about how they disappeared, and the second game telling about the mysterious van roaming around town, possibly kidnapping people, and the third game showing the future fate our protagonist, Jimmy. After the game finishes, the lights suddenly go out, and the laptop finishes processing the photo. The boy looks at it, which looks like a disfigured body of a person. Jimmy is scared and tries to climb out of the treehouse only to fall down due to a broken ladder. Fortunately, he is uninjured and actually makes his way back to the house where Jeff's music is nowhere to be heard. Assuming that he must have gone to bed, Jimmy uses the pliers to open the basement doors to enter the locked house. As he makes towards his room upstairs, a mysterious man knocks him out and kidnaps him. The boy then wakes up in a dilapidated room with a girl locked behind a cell. This is the same girl that you read about in a newspaper article being disappeared. You explore the area looking for something to break the girl out with and find a syringe pit to keep the people from escaping. Using the hammer, he breaks down a plank from the cracked wall and uses it to travel across the syringe pit to find a key which he uses to open a small door. He then travels across the dark hallway and enters a room with music. The room contains a tripod with a camera and 3 silhouettes behind it. Jimmy begs them to let him go, but suddenly he is attacked by a grotesque woman, and the game ends. The story is a confusing one, but the simple premise is that people who worked at a circus were basically approached by a man to help him make snuff films where they basically torture and do sick things to children, as indicated by the room with the tripod camera and the note found by Jimmy about Mike being approached by a man and them accepting the offer as society has shunned them for being freaks of nature. The group basically first started with the campers who get lost in the woods, but were actually kidnapped by these circus freaks to make snuff films with. After this, they slowly resorted to kidnapping children by roaming around in a van and looking for unattended children, which is how they captured the kids from the playground. As for the escape of the tiger from the zoo is concerned, it was probably a tiger that belonged to those circus peoples, and they basically stole it back to make it eat the kidnapped victims and to make the Snuff films more gruesome. And of course, the radio host basically is telling about the discovery of Jimmy's body at the start of the game. As for the video games, they basically foreshadow the events that are about to unfold, with Andy Bear taking pictures of Jimmy and the man kidnapping him and placing him in the white van, and then Jimmy using the plank in the cracked wall to use it as a walkboard to reach his candy, which is the key that opens the doors to his demise.